Hey there and welcome back to another video. So this week I have an interesting topic in mind. You probably can guess by the title, but first of all I'm gonna tell you what I will be doing in this video. And I'm recording the audio before recording the actual video. Usually I don't do that, but this week I have this weird schedule, so I'm kind of squeezing it in beforehand. And I will be redrawing a drawing I did in 2015, and it's a little fairy. It was one of the first drawings I did completely from my imagination, and I was so excited. I saw it today when I was going through some of my old drawings, and I decided to give it a try and redraw it. So I don't know how that's gonna turn out, but that's what I will be doing in the time lapse you will be watching while hearing me. That will be fun, I hope, and I hope that the results are interesting. Jumping back onto the interesting topic in hand, I will be talking about a post I wrote last week for my blog, and it's called 21 Excuses That Keep You From Becoming a Great Artist. I will be linking it down below because I'm not gonna give you the 21 excuses I did in that post because that will probably take me forever. And I know I tend to rumble a bit because of that, and because I want to also get into some more detail for some of the excuses. So I don't know how many I will be touching at the end of the video, but I will probably count them and put in the title. On this topic, I want to say this is a bit of tough love. Be prepared, don't feel like it's a personal attack or anything, because this happens to all of us. It happened to me, it happens to me sometimes, some of them, and it's just good to know when this is something you're falling into and it's keeping you from improving, from getting better and achieving your success. Take them in mind and try to make the necessary changes if you see that you're stuck in this rut of negativity and excuses that keep you from working on your art. The first one, and the one I like the most, is I'll never be as talented as insert artist's name. And oh gosh, I can't tell you how much I hate this, because it's pure envy. And I know we're humans, we all have envy of things, we can't really control it, even if we say we don't envy people. But I know seeing a great artist and their great art kind of can make you jealous, but they've put it in so much work that you really shouldn't be jealous, because you probably... I'm betting that most of the people that say these things haven't put on a 10% of the work the artist has put into. And besides, let's not get into the topic of talent, because I don't believe that exists. People can be better at learning or achieving a skill. Maybe sometimes it's just because they encourage you to, because when you were little someone told you that your drawings were good. Probably they were the same as the rest of the kids at your age, but someone encouraged you to, you believed that, you kept working, and maybe you worked more than the other ones, and you believe that it is a talent because you've been doing it for so long. But honestly, I don't believe in that. If you do, I mean, we're all allowed to our opinions, but believe me, all of the artists out there, if you believe they have talent or not, the thing is they put on hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours that you haven't put into yet. At least not as much as them. And if you put it on that many hours, you'll know, because you will be good by now. So don't use that as an excuse to keep you back from not working and not trying to improve. And the second one is another one of my favorites, I love this, is the excuse of I don't have the time, I'm so busy. There's a bit of tough love here. Hey, we're all busy. We all are. We all have our lives. We all have our things. We all can be busy. Of course there's people less busy, but artists are all busy. All of them. The ones you see creating a ton of art and the ones you see creating less art, they're all busy. But the thing is, they all create artwork. Why? Because art is a priority for them. And if art is a priority for you, you will be making time for art. I know I do, even when I'm crazily busy, because I know art is important for me. So even if it's just 10 minutes a day thing, a doodle before going to sleep, something, I will be trying to dedicate that time for art, because that's what I love. And of course you can take a break, that's fine, but don't use the excuse that, oh, I have to work, I have that and I have that, because people manage to get work in all the time if art is their priority, and you can too. If not, maybe reevaluate your priorities and put art in front of something that is not really that important for you at the moment. For example, a lot of artists in the animation business that are drawing all day, I mean, I've heard this from a lot of different artists, that they've seen this. When there comes their lunchtime, which is supposed to be a break, they draw. They do landscape painting, they do quick sketch, they get out their sketchbooks and paint for fun, not for work, because they won't have time otherwise, because maybe they come home and they have a wife and kids to take care of and to give attention to. So they do that on breaks. You can do that too, and probably those artists are incredibly busy and they're already making so much art, but they still look for time to create their own personal art. Let's move on to the next one. One that I found really fun, but I'm not gonna elaborate much into it, is this misconception that if you're an artist, all you will have to do is sit home and paint all day. No, I'm telling you, no. An actual artist, an artist on today's world, will have to know much more and do much more than just sit home and paint. It's not like that. You will have to put a lot of time into business, into building relationships, into social media and different things. I mean, it's not only that, but managing your shops. You basically have to know a bit of everything, so you shouldn't take this ideal image of an artist and think that your life will be like that, because then you will be very disappointed by finding out that you will be making like a 20% of your day into actually creating art or less, and the rest will be business. So this kind of creates an excuse that you only need to learn to paint and you only need to be trained to paint all day. The excuse here will be not learning about business, about how to sell your art or market your art and stuff like that. Of course, if you want to go into an animation business, it's a different kind of job, but if you want to be a self-employed artist, then you will have to learn those things. The other one is the waiting for an opportunity or luck to strike. If you're an artist and you're kind of working, but you're waiting for everything to fall right before you, then sorry, that's not gonna happen. Maybe you will get an opportunity and you'll take it and everything will be perfect, but that's not usually the case, and I will risk myself to say that that's mostly always not the case. Most of the people that get an opportunity, that get a strike of luck, if you want to call it that, is because they worked on something, they produced a certain product or piece of work that impressed someone or got to the right eyes. And yeah, that might be a kind of touch of luck, but behind that there's a work of the artist, the work of creating that product, that piece or whatever. And if you don't have that skill, or if you don't have a certain something, then no one's gonna appear before you and offer you an opportunity. And I think it's really bad for someone to believe that one day the opportunity will strike and not put any work into anything. Of course, if you're creating stuff, if you're publishing stuff, if you're searching for job opportunities, or whatever you might be looking into, you might be luckier than other people, but in general, you have to go out and search for those opportunities. Another one I really like is the "I don't have the tools" excuse. I see a lot of young artists lately saying things like, "Oh, I don't have a graphic tablet, I can't learn to draw." And my face is like a poem. I'm a person that's very expressive. And if you say something like that to me, my face will say, "What the hell are you saying?" Do you have a pencil? Do you have paper, copy paper, or a notebook, or whatever? Then you can learn, you can improve, or you can get so much far ahead just with that. You don't need anything else. Of course, if you want to learn watercolors and you don't have watercolors, then that's a problem. But you don't need expensive watercolors to learn either. You don't need the new iPad to learn digital. You can get a $50 Wacom tablet, the one that's non-screen, and get to work. We all learn like that. I know really great artists that started with a mouse or with a really cheap tablet or a second-hand cheap tablet, and they got really good, and then they saved and they bought the good thing. Sometimes I believe there are certain supplies that maybe need a certain amount of quality for you to learn to use them properly, maybe like oils or something, but you can still use student grade and learn the basics and then move along. But you don't need an iPad, you don't need the expensive Wacom tablet to learn and to improve, especially because you have different options now that are more affordable. And don't use this as an excuse. A pencil is enough for you to get better. For the first 2 or 3 years of my art, I only had normal pencils, the one you get everywhere, and copy paper, and then I bought a few more pencils with different hardness of the lead, some drawing paper, but it was really cheap and really bad. But anyway, it was an improvement, a huge improvement for me, but I was still getting better anyway. And I didn't have anything fancy. I probably didn't spend more than $10. You don't need expensive things to get better, and if you believe you do, you're just putting up excuses for not doing the actual work. I'm waiting for inspiration. This is another one, another good one. And I've heard people, professional artists, that say they've heard other professional artists say these things, and I really can't understand. As an artist, if you work all the time, you won't be inspired all the time. You probably will only be really inspired a few times, maybe in a week or maybe in a month, it depends. But you won't be hit by inspiration all the time. And you will still have to learn to work without that hint of inspiration. Because if not, you probably won't make art at all. And if you don't make art at all, you won't get better, you won't sell, you won't have projects, or you won't be able to commit to deadlines and stuff like that you need to have if you work as a professional. So creativity is something that you can train. I believe that inspiration comes when you actually grab a paper or start drawing. Inspiration won't hit you in a moment and then you will create a masterpiece. Usually it takes some work. And yes, you can be more inspired one day than others, but if you get into the flow that you draw every day and you have your certain rituals, sometimes, for example, if I light a candle and grab a tea or a cup of coffee and sit down to draw with my tablet or with my watercolors or something, it kind of creates a mood where I feel more inspired, more creative. Things like that help and trick the brain, but also if you do it all the time, every time you sit and draw, maybe the first 10 minutes you won't be inspired, but then later you will start to get creative. And there's other ways that you can create creativity to come up with ideas and stuff like that, but that's another point entirely. But you can look up into that if you feel that you never have good ideas. And if you do want to know more about some of the topics I'm mentioning, in the post I have on my blog, I do also have links to as a couple of podcasts and a couple of videos that might be interesting that go further into these themes and give up advice and stuff like that, and maybe they will be useful to you if you want to check them out. I actually can tell you that those resources or those podcasts and videos were good for me when I first listened to them, so they might help you too. I think I will finish with this one, or at least it will be one of the last ones. I heard this and it really resonated with me. Maybe you don't really love art. Because, let me explain here. I heard this and I thought, well, you don't really have to love art. Maybe all people love art, but maybe some people love it more than others. But it's really true that if you're not dedicating time and effort to your art, then maybe you don't love it as much as you think you do. Because if you loved it, you will be making time, you will be making an effort, you will be doing art all the time you can, because people that love art, I know because it happens to me and I've seen people do it. People that love art find time for art, they fight for art, and people that put up a lot of excuses maybe don't love art as much as they think they do. So of course it could be a mental thing, but I think that sometimes this might be the reason, that maybe you just feel pressure to creating art because everyone says you're so good at it, or whatever reason it might be, you feel pressure into it, like people might feel pressure into being a doctor because their parents and their family are all doctors, stuff like that, I don't know. I thought I will mention it because I felt it was something that it resonated with me, that if you do love art and if you are really passionate about it, then make an effort and don't let things get in the way, because if you really, really love art, you will work, you will improve, and you will be good. Another one that I think might be important is the one where you have a lot of ideas and projects but they never get done because you keep putting up excuses. These excuses aren't usually really about the ideas or something, it's because you don't get to work. You have the idea, you think it's too difficult, then you feel, I don't know, maybe you feel intimidated to start the project. Sometimes you should just start. Start with something little of the project, and then you'll probably get better and better and better. And sometimes maybe you can't do a huge project, like, I mean, creating a full 100-page comic, but you can do a 10-page comic and still have something out of your idea, your project, and that 10-page comic will give you the training you need to later do the 100-page comic. So the point of this is that if you have an idea, start working on it right away and finish it. That's the important bit. Don't start working on it and then leave it, and then start another and then leave it. What you start, try to finish. Even if you don't feel that motivated with it anymore, for whatever reason, you should try to finish it, because the important thing is that you learn to finish your projects and to start and finish your projects. Because if you end a project, you probably will have a product to sell or to put on your portfolio, or something that will give you credit, it will give you training, and might get you recognition. So projects are really good. And here's the last one. This time it's for good. The last one is, I didn't go to art school, I can't do it. Or I didn't have classes on this, I can't do it. Well, let me tell you, we all artists are self-taught in a way. Sometimes, yes, you might be taking courses and you might be taking classes, but at the end of the day, it's about the time you practice, the time you put into it, and the time you get to search resources in tutorials and stuff and improve. Art school is not really that important. Maybe for some things it might be important because you get to build relationships and contacts, and that's really good. But you can still do that in other ways. Maybe if you're a person that needs deadlines and someone to push you, then yeah, maybe you should go to art school, but you really don't need it. And you can learn to push yourself and put yourself deadlines. But I mean, if you want to go to art school, go. But first, I think you should inform yourself and learn about professional artists that didn't go to art school, or professional artists that went to art school, and learn about their opinions on the topic, because there's a lot of videos. I have actually one linked down below by Lulu Sketches. I have it linked on the blog. She's talking about this especially for the animation industry, because that's her experience, and she got into it without any art school. If you can, learn by yourself. Most of the times you can make it anyway, you just have to be disciplined. Don't use it as an excuse. If you want to go to art school and you find enough reasons to, and you have the money, of course, because it's really expensive, then go. But if you don't, it will be fine. You will learn anyway, you will find jobs anyway, and people will hire you, because most artists say, professionals and not, that agents, people that are looking for artists for jobs, never look into the education bit. Always look onto the portfolio. So get working on that portfolio. That will be the important bit. That's all for now. If you want to read the rest of the reasons, I will have them on the blog. I promise I ramble less on the blog. I will have them a bit more condensed. Check that out if you're interested in the rest of the reasons. I hope this kind of inspired you or got something out of the way for you. If you have any more excuses, or if you have any thoughts on this, maybe you don't agree with me, it's completely fine if you don't. Tell me about it, let's chat in the comments. I will be interested in knowing your opinions about this. Or if you feel like you're putting up excuses for yourself, that it is not something that I've mentioned, maybe it's not on the blog either, tell me about it, let's chat about it. I think it will be interesting. I love this topic and I love pushing people to be their best selves, because we all get into this rut. We all think these things at one point, but the most important thing is to learn how to get out of it and keep fighting for ourselves without putting up excuses and things that keep us from being our best selves. So that was all for today. I hope you liked it. I hope the REDRAW turns out well, but I will show it to you in a few minutes, and you probably are seeing the process right now, so you now know more than me. You'll have a glimpse into the future. Isn't that awesome? Give it a like if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye!